Okay, here we are, Smurfs the Lost Village, and technically this is based on a comic. The Smurfs debuted in a Franco-Belgian publication, so it qualifies. Anyway, just got out of the theater, give or take about a half an hour ago. I had to take care of a couple other things, but got out of it, got my notes ready, so here we are. Starting things off, they sort of parodied the Columbia Pictures logo. You know, you see the woman on the pedestal with the torch, and then that woman suddenly falls over, and Smurfette is standing there. Coming into the picture proper, we get an introduction to the various Smurfs. You know, your typical ones: Hefty, Handy, Jokey, Brainy. Papa Smurf actually calls Brainy Nerdy at first, and then changes it to, and he goes like, "Aha, I'm just kidding you, Brainy." And then they get into some weird ones. There's Nosy Smurf, there's Paranoid Smurf, there's Table Eating Smurf, and then there's a brief. Basically, the motif is, you know, the Smurfs, they have their sort of predestination in their name. I.e., Handy Smurf is the builder and the carpenter and everything. You know, Natural Smurf is the farmer. Jokey Smurf obviously plays practical jokes. Smurfette does not really have a designation other than just being the girl. They go into her origin a little bit. You know, she was created by Gargamel from clay. She was sent to basically betray the Smurfs, but Papa Smurf took her in and showed her kindness, so that saved her. And you start panning through that she's trying to find her place in the Smurf village other than just being the girl. And they show her, you know, she tries to bake a cake and it just sort of melts. You know, she tries karate, ends up doing more damage. She even tries to out Grouchy Smurf, and that doesn't seem to work. We do get a brief cameo at this point. Greedy Smurf is voiced by Gordon Ramsay. He calls Smurfette a rubbish cook. It's around this time that Brainy develops a device that basically can hone in on, again, that Smurf sort of identity, for lack of a better term, and distill it down. Like, he tries it on Hefty and hones in on Hefty's strength, and it distills it into like this little canister of a liquid, and at one point Clumsy picks it up and trips, and it turns it into basically a grenade because it's pure strength. Smurfette puts it on, but it doesn't really seem to do anything. It doesn't extract anything from her. She winds up absorbing from it. Basically, and this upsets, not being able to find her destiny again upsets Smurfette. So Clumsy, Brainy, and Hefty try to cheer her up by going Smurfboarding, which is basically skateboarding. At this point, Smurfette gets a little bit lost, and she ends up bumping into what appears to be another Smurf that goes through a wall into the Forbidden Forest. It's at this point that Gargamel's bird shows up. Gargamel is voiced by Rainn Wilson, and I'm going to make this kind of complaint right now. Gargamel is really weak in this. He's virtually pointless. I mean, he has Azrael with him. He also has this bird whose name I could not remember at all, because, again, it's just a bird. The bird scoops up Smurfette. Basically, Gargamel is able to find out that there's this other village of Smurfs in the Forbidden Forest. He's able to piece together where the village might be located. At this point, Brainy, Hefty, and Clumsy rescue Smurfette, and basically they sort of take it upon themselves to find these other Smurfs and warn them of Gargamel's coming. Yeah, they go through, basically they put a ruse on Papa Smurf. Papa Smurf grounds them first off for getting caught by Gargamel to begin with. They sneak out of the village late at night, and they make their way through the wall that divides the forests. Kind of some shenanigans happen. They come across dragonflies that are basically part dragon and part fly. They come across rabbits that actually glow in the dark. There's a river chase where Gargamel actually finds them, and sort of tricks them, but eventually they do wind up getting to the Smurf village before Gargamel, well before Gargamel, because Gargamel takes a wrong turn and winds up in the swamp of no return. They find the Smurf village. It's called Smurfy Grove, and it's a village of female Smurfs. There are no men. And the Smurf in charge of this one, it's a Mama Smurf, for lack of a better term, whose name is Smurf Willow. Eventually, Clumsy and another Smurf, who's kind of more like a warrior Smurf of the female Smurfs, they go out, they manage to prove that Gargamel is still out there. At this point, Clumsy kind of gives Smurfette's backstory, which makes this other Smurf, I think her name is Smurffire, already, who's distrusting a Smurfette, make her distrust her even more. But along this point, Papa Smurf is actually able to track down his Smurfs, for lack of a better term. They meet up, and they're sort of trying to hash things out when Gargamel manages to appear. He developed these devices called freeze balls. Basically, as soon as they make contact with something, they freeze. Well, he designed them to only go after Smurfs. He says that, but earlier in the picture, there's a scene where Gargamel hits himself with one of them and gets frozen. So I don't know how well that worked out for him. He tries to capture Smurfette, but Smurfette is, quote, not a real Smurf because he made her from clay. Anyway, she catches all the Smurfs. The other Smurfs basically stop trusting Smurfette at this point. They leave her alone, but eventually several animal friends show up to help Smurfette come back and try to rescue the Smurfs. But at this point, Gargamel is draining the Smurfs of their magic to make himself an even more powerful wizard, as opposed to earlier stories where, again, depending on, at least if you watch the cartoon, depending on what it was, he either needed 100 Smurfs to turn them into gold, or to be able to make gold, or he wanted to eat them. Yeah. Anyway, Gargamel's drained the Smurfs of their magic. He's becoming a more powerful wizard. It's then that Smurfette arrives and says, you could get even more powerful because I could reveal to you the location of the hidden Smurf village, but you have to change me back to the way I was. And he says, okay, and he blasts her, and he starts trying to change her back, but she's able to sort of channel the magic back, because that's what they discovered earlier. Smurfette can basically absorb energy and then project it back out, and she projects it back at Gargamel, knocks him in to his machine that he was extracting the Smurf magic from, frees the other Smurfs. Unfortunately, in the midst of this, Smurfette returns to her clay form because she wanted to go back to what she was, and that was clay. And the other Smurfs are all sad. All the Smurfs, all the male Smurfs, all the female Smurfs come together and they form a circle around the clay. And their magic is enough to restore Smurfette and we get her happy ending at that point. Again, some of the other cast in this. Demi Lovato was Smurfette. Danny Pudi was Brainy Smurf. Hefty Smurf was Joe... I'm not very good at his last name. Joe Manilio. Or Manili. Not Joe Manili, that's a comic artist. Maniello. El Cid from True Blood. Clumsy Smurf was Jack McBrayer. We said Papa Smurf was Manny Patinkin. Rainn Wilson was Gargamel. Frank Welker was the voice of Azrael. I know he voiced Azrael in the animated cartoon as well, but wow, Azrael did not sound very good at this at all. Azrael sounded more like Slimer from the real Ghostbusters than Azrael from the original cartoon. Like they electronically pitched up Frank Welker's voice for some reason on that. There's a brief scene in the mid-roll credit. There's a brief mid-roll scene in this. Basically, Gargamel is shown walking through. You see it from behind. They're walking kind of over this hill, and he starts kind of commenting on the fact that the credits are actually going off in front of them. And he's like, "What are matte painters? What do they do? Oh, set photographers. Like, they take pictures of sets. Like, what? Huh? What does this mean? Why are there words flying through the air?" And that was probably his only real moment of genuine comedy in this. Smurf Willow, the leader of the female Smurfs, was voiced by Julia Roberts. Let me just take one quick look here. Okay, Smurf Storm. That is the one who is the one suspicious, not Smurfire. That is Michelle Rodriguez. The energetic girl Smurf is Smurf Blossom, voiced by Ella Kemper. Ariel Winter is Smurf Lily, who's kind of the natural Smurf female equivalent. The musical girl Smurf is Megan Trainor, even though they have like 3 or 4 other singers on this. That's pretty much it. Jokey Smurf is Gabriel Iglesias. Jeff Dunham is Natural Smurf. And that's kind of it in terms of, I would say, known actors with Smurfs. Anyway, but, you know, the one problem I would have, too, with this, other than the Gargamel thing being really weak, it's basically Smurfette the movie with Clumsy, Brainy, and Hefty along for the ride. Like, there's kind of this little subplot of Hefty having a crush on Smurfette, but basically all the male Smurfs have a crush on Smurfette. You know, nothing ever really comes of that. That's not the big part. Basically, all of the other male Smurfs outside of Papa Smurf and the other, and the 3 I just mentioned, Clumsy, Brainy, and Hefty, are out of there. Yeah. They're in the very beginning and then they just kind of vanish. I will say this, at least they didn't go about, they used Smurfs that were kind of pre-established. They did not do like what the live action movies did and have the weird kilt-wearing Smurf. I said that too, again, Gargamel, like I said, the one problem is I think Gargamel came across as a really weak villain in this. He was not menacing at all. Like, yeah, he bungled his way in the cartoon as well, but he wasn't, he still had an air of menace to him, and in this one he really didn't. It was just more about Smurfette finding the other village of female Smurfs. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, though. Really, the voice performances were really good. The animation was really, really good, too. Like I said, my only real quibbles, I mean, again, I keep talking about the quibbles, I'm sorry. Like I said, most of the performances were really good. The animation was really good. There's this one scene where they come to a river, and it's kind of like a 3-dimensional river. It's not just an ordinary river going through a river. It kind of goes up and down through the air like this, and it's a sort of tube of water that's all through that. And then they come to rapids, and it's even bigger, and it spirals around in loop-to-loops, and it's really crazy looking. The backgrounds are, again, really good. The Smurfs animate really well. It's nice to see them be an entirely animated feature and, you know, not in modern-day New York City. So, I guess, overall, I'm actually going to give this a B. I'm going to say, especially if you know, if you have kids and you're maybe tired of having to get dragged out to see Beauty and the Beast again, Smurfs the Lost Village is a decent enough alternative to that. I think they'd have a lot of fun with it. Alright, trailer time, and we actually have new trailers. I know, this is shocking. I mean, going into it, I mean, this was a family film, so I didn't expect to see, like, the Alien Covenant trailer again, or I thought maybe we might get Fate of the Furious or Guardians of the Galaxy again, but no, pretty much it's mostly new trailers. We do have a couple of repeats, though. We got Leap again, which is the one about the orphan girl who wants to be a famous Parisian ballet dancer. We also got Born in China, the Disney nature documentary. After that, we got Captain Underpants, which I would say it looks good. I think for me, it would probably be more like a wait till Blu-ray or Netflix or something. Kevin Hart is the voice of one of the characters in it, and they pitched his voice really, really high in it for some reason, and it's really grating. That's probably going to be the one real drawback to that movie. After that, we have the new Diary of a Wimpy Kid movie, The Long Haul. Yeah, pretty much if you've seen one Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, I think you've seen them all. So, after that, we have Cars 3, and then Despicable Me 3. You know, I'm not as familiar with the Despicable Me franchise. I've only seen Minions, and I did like Minions, but you know, if you like the other Despicable Me movies, you're probably gonna like that one. Cars. I'm probably one of the few who really enjoyed the first Cars movie. I really liked it. The second one, is obviously not worth talking about at all, but I think Cars 3 looks good. They're taking the focus back onto Lightning McQueen instead of Mater and some stupid spy stories, so it'll at least have that going for it. Alright, so tomorrow, the next episode of the Random Trade Review will be up on Just Imagine Stan Lee. See you all then.